fix it. So Erin's an award-winning marketer and has held a number of marketing leadership positions across quick serve restaurants and the hospitality industries. Very happy to discuss leadership with you today, Erin. So firstly, you recently became an advisor to Built by Girls. Built by Girls, for those who don't know, prepares the next generation of female leaders to step boldly into careers in technology. But before we get more into that, let me ask a selfish question. I have a daughter going to college in the fall. She wants to have a career in business. What advice would you have for her?
That as long as she goes to college and she has some sort of degree, that it doesn't matter what that degree's in, she has to find what she's happy doing, right? What she's passionate about. But most people change careers 6 times before they figure out what it is. So my degree is in theater. It's in acting. I joke that I still use it every day. However, it wasn't in marketing. I didn't go to school for marketing. I later went back and got a Cornell certificate for marketing brand strategy. But when I entered college, I thought I was going to pursue acting the rest of my life. And just because we go into college thinking one thing doesn't mean that has to pave our entire future.
That's an interesting point because I've worked across startups and large companies. And when you talk to a CEO at a startup, they want to see comp sci on that resume. Mm-hmm. And you're saying, find that passion, whatever it is.
Yeah, I will hire a go-getter, passionate person who is excited about learning over expertise any day.
Interesting. How do you assess that?
So I'm a big believer in the Gallup Strength Finder, which talks about someone's strengths, but you can hear it. You can start to understand. And I know that I've personally been tested for emotional intelligence in the past, but like you can start to feel if someone's one of those go-getters that's going to always achieve. And the Gallup Strength Finder helps to highlight that as well. But you do that over skills assessment, which once you get through the resume piece, it takes a personal conversation. I can tell you, I hired in Las Vegas a position that you couldn't find it on a piece of paper. It was an entry-level position, and I probably interviewed in 10-minute conversations 100 people in order to narrow down to 10 that I thought could be the right person.
Wow, 10 minutes. That's interesting. And what strengths did you have when you took the test?
So my top 5 strengths are communicative. So I like storytelling. Positivity, meaning I tend to lean away when people are constantly negative. Woo, which is influencing others or sales. Strategic. So I see the end before other people see the end. So I see like the plane crash coming before the plane crash knows it's going to crash.
That's helpful.
And activator, meaning like, let's go. Like wherever we're going to go, let's just do it. We don't need to talk about it. Let's just get on the bus.
Nice. I think I took one of those tests and I think I only had 3 strengths. So getting back to my daughter, because that's what this is really about, right? How should she, or really anyone entering college, challenge herself to be better prepared for the real world?
I understand why college exists, and I loved my college experience, but the real world is really what you make of it as it relates to like what internships are you doing? How are you getting involved? I worked my way through college, right? That starts to get you set up. And I remember being in college thinking like, oh, I can't wait to get into the real world. And then I got into the real world and I was like, oh my God, I really want to go back to college, right? Like, because college was so much fun. And even though I thought I had all this responsibility, I didn't. So I got to try and test different things. I got to experience different things. And you're doing it in the confines of a campus where it's all people that are in one form or another like you, right? Like age, demo, they're all going through this experience together. And it's kind of going to camp for 4 years. So I would say to try new things and to experiment. And this is your opportunity to do that because adulting is hard.
There you go. And I agree with that within reason. Thinking back to my college career, which wasn't always so reasonable. Now, getting back to Built by Girls, what attracted you to their mission and how are you adding to their mission?
So focusing on girls in the STEM category and coming up in technology, there aren't a ton of women in technology. So this idea that um, we as women can be held to different standards than other folks was very important to me, and how we guide these students who are going into STEM, who are trying to decide what they're going to do with the rest of their life. It is also very important to me. So I got involved. I said, like, how do I get involved here? They had me go through a process to be a mentor. I was assigned a mentee, and we've had this relationship for now months, and she's absolutely wonderful. And she asked all the right questions, but you could tell she didn't have anyone to guide her. She didn't have anyone to go to say, like, how do you handle the fact that, like, I have no balance in my life, or I can't, I'm told I'm too quiet, or I'm told I need to be louder, and how do you deal with that? And so having the ability for her to be able to come to me and ask those questions where I could answer anything she wanted has been, I think, very helpful for her. She says it's been very helpful for her. And I know that it fulfills me as well.
That's very interesting, and that's an amazing resource. And thinking back, I wish I'd had a similar resource. Transitioning over to you and really the Erin origin story, and at the risk of borrowing from Mark Maron, let's start from the beginning. How did you get here? Was there a plan, or were you just good, or was it a bit of both?
There was no plan, and I wouldn't say I was good. But I ended up here. No, I degree in acting, moved to Vegas, thought I would be a actress. And the only reason I lived there is because I had couldn't afford LA. Got a $600 apartment on the ground floor of a really crappy area in Las Vegas. Ate Jack in the Box, which is amazing, and we don't have it in the Midwest, but outstanding. And ate Jack in the Box until I could find a job. Worked for a psychologist, which just got me through, just got me a paycheck so that I could figure out what I wanted to do. Accidentally fell into theater as a box office supervisor, then a house manager. That led me, which I loved, that led me to training and talent development. After taking a training course, they said, you're a natural trainer. Do you want to do training? That's like being on stage. Yes, absolutely, I do. I was able to, that's where I really learned how to coach employees and how to create leadership skills, because by default, I was teaching leadership skills to directors and vice presidents in a casino atmosphere. And then the recession hit, and they literally went through and laid off everyone. And I remember just being like, I've never lost my job. I didn't do anything wrong. How could you possibly lose a job? And I got really angry because people kept going, oh, you lost your job. No, I know where it's at. I just don't have it. It's not mine anymore. And I didn't know what I was going to do. I said I would be a housekeeper. I would do whatever. They said, what do you know about internet marketing? I said, I have the Facebook. And at that time, like, it was cool to have the Facebook because I was in college and we had gotten it in college. And I was given a shot. Someone took a shot on me. I didn't know anything. I worked my way up. And the joke is, like, if there was like totem pole, like whale feces, like I was below that, like on the totem pole. I would bring you coffee if you needed coffee. And I just started memorizing everything. I didn't have anywhere to go. I could work long hours, and I started taking in and ingesting everything around me. I worked my way up. I moved over to MGM, did the same thing from Caesars to MGM, then to the Palms. I got involved in the community, Las Vegas Interactive Marketing Association. And then I had children and realized I can't raise my kids here. Not that there's anything wrong with that. And I'm sure people are listening and they're like, I grew up in Vegas and I turned out fine. I wanted a small town atmosphere. So moved to Dallas, worked for Wingstop. That led me to Freebirds. That led me to Hathaway. That led me to Marcus, which has led me to Del Taco. And it's always been through people you meet, and you never know. And it sounds crazy, but you never know that, like, the person that you randomly meet and you're chitter chatting with could be your next opportunity, or the next person to say, like, hey, I want to introduce you to the so-and-so. And that's really how each job kind of came along. It was never like, hey, I went out and actively applied for that and pursued it. So I would say that it's only because I'm very blessed. I've been at the right place at the right time, and I've worked very hard.
I love that story. And when I think about how I got into internet marketing or internet media, it was kind of you know the internet was the big thing for our generation, and I moved from the steel business, the metals business, over to representing websites and slinging banners and selling keywords for like $45 CPMs. That's how old I am. um, but like you got into this internet marketing and it's really propelled things forward. Was there anything that you were passionate about, or you were just like, this is a good opportunity for me? Or what was there any specific thing about internet marketing that got you excited?
I think what gets me the most excited about it is because it mirrors, it brings together the emotional qualities that true marketing has, right? Like what used to be your quote unquote traditional marketing, right? This storytelling aspect that I love. And then it matches that up with analytics, right? So when I first started in internet marketing, folks would be like, well, you can measure your stuff, but all this other marketing we've been doing, we don't actually measure it. Like no one had asked traditional marketers to show results for anything ever, right? Like back in the day, you'd ask well, how'd your commercial do? Like how much revenue did it drive? And they'd go, that's not what we do it for. It's brand awareness. And what I found is everybody was using this brand awareness term as like, that just means you don't know. You don't know how, if it made an ROI or not. You weren't doing a pre-post out of control. You weren't working with your finance teams. There was never this need to add math to anything we did as marketers. And internet marketing did that. It said, hey, you can tag it, you can track it, you can follow the conversion funnel, you can start to see different types of attribution, and you added this math layer into what is truly an emotional decision, which is marketing. And that was exciting to me. I have been given the opportunity in the past to go back into talent development and training and other careers. But once I realized I had a passion and a skill for something that I say in acting, everybody thinks they're an actor, right? Like everybody's like, oh, I could do that. Yeah, if I wasn't a lawyer, I could be an actor. And now I chose the second profession where people go, oh, if I didn't go into law school, I always thought I could be a marketer, right? Everybody thinks they can write a tagline, and you're like, oh, that's so. I chose the second, like, easiest career in the world, apparently. But I do love it, and I do think I just kind of fell into my spot there.
Well, that's great. Congratulations. Yeah, I remember the early days, when the internet was beholden to every click, and then I spent 5 minutes working for a TV technology company with like rich media happening on TV and sporting events. And the first big deal we did, I was telling my startup lawyer to please build us an insertion order document. And then when we did our first deal with a big car company, I said, I'll send over the insertion order. She goes, what insertion order? And I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like, she's like, I'm not going to sign anything. I'm like, what? She's like, I'm like, can you just approve the spreadsheet via email? She said, no. She goes, run the media and we'll pay you. And she did, and we did. And shockingly, it worked. But it's really interesting to me that you studied theater. And here you are, these amazing marketing roles, winning a number of awards. Can you tell us how that experience applies to your job today, whether it's presenting to the board or at a conference or what it may be?
Yeah. So marketing is storytelling. Marketing or acting is storytelling. It's just a different form of it, right? This idea that you suit up to go into to walk on stage, whether the stage is, like you said, a boardroom, or the stage is an actual stage or a four wall, it's not that different. And I will say what has prepared me, the skills that came out of theater are the public speaking skills, the ability to work with all different types of people. I mean, if you're an actor, you don't think like, oh, you just work with other actors. You're working with a director who's a type of person, a sound designer, a lighting designer, and the fact that it truly takes a team to do anything. And I believe that everybody, including my children, should be taking some sort of theater course throughout. And when I received my degree, it wasn't that you just went to school and studied acting. I truly understand how a set is built, a lighting design, how a light, like I could get up in a rig and start hanging some lights if we wanted to. All of those things were really important. I could sew a costume. Don't get me wrong. Like if someone put a pair of pants in front of me, small chance in hell that I could like actually make them look like a nice pair of pants at the end, but they look good on stage because it's costuming. Um, all the different aspects of it you have to truly understand. And the same, I think, for marketing, to truly do a good job as a marketer, you have to understand all the aspects of the business. So whether it's how, how the tacos get made, all the way through how the P&L works, like I am not stellar at my job if I don't understand all the different pieces working together and then how to tell that story and follow it through. We've all heard as marketers that like marketers will tell me, well, I can market it. And then people come and it's not my fault they didn't buy it. Well, kind of is, right? Like it's kind of your fault that they didn't buy it because whatever you sold them wasn't what they expected. Whatever you advertised to them wasn't what they received when they walked in the store. So it is our responsibility to be involved in all the different aspects of the business because of that. And then in marketing technology, I joke with folks that I'm involved with anything that touches a device, which turns out to be everything. And there's really very few times where someone's like, oh, should Erin be in the room here? No, I should be because there's probably a technology piece that ladders into it from a marketing perspective, which acting and theater also get you set up for.
Yeah, when you think about even a high school play and what has to go on, it's for it to come off is kind of amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really good. It's a really good analogy. Now going to leadership, the road to leadership can sometimes be different for men than women. Are there any specific challenges that you had mentioned that you faced, which other female leaders could learn from?
I've had a lot of challenges. So throughout my career, I've had 3 babies. I will tell you that I've been blessed and lucky enough that I was hired when I was 8 months pregnant. Many women can't say that happens to them. I mean, I was carrying around a bowling ball. There was no way to hide it. And I remember being offered the position and saying, I'm pregnant, right? Like, we should probably talk about this. And they were like, yeah, no, yeah. But like nobody said anything. And I was like, so I'm going to have a baby soon. And they're like, yeah, no, we're in this for the long haul. We don't want you just for like a month. But we get it. We know that you're going to have a baby, your family's important. And so I've been very blessed to work for companies that truly believe in the family that I have. There are companies out there that don't. I will tell you that I have had interviews in the past where people have asked, when talking to me, oh, what does your husband do? And I'm like, you would never ask my husband if he was interviewing for a job what he does, or what his wife does. And I've had interviews in the past that someone has asked me, oh, well, how many kids do you have? Oh, and I have no problem. Like, fine, I don't have to tell you, but I'll tell you. And they'll say, oh, well, this position requires a lot of time commitment. Yep, never had an issue in the past. Don't plan to have an issue in the future. So those things, I don't know for sure, but I don't feel like some of my male counterparts have had to experience. I also will tell you that I used to be one of the only females at an executive table, and I was pulled aside once by the general counsel for one of the positions I had a long time ago. And she said to me, she said, I just want to tell you something. And I said, all right. And she was very scary. She didn't sit at the executive table because she didn't come to those meetings. And I said, what? And she goes, people are going to call you a bitch. Do not change anything you're doing. You are direct, you are focused, and you are a leader. But because you're a woman, They will refer to you as a bitch. Just let it roll. And I was like, and I was completely shell shocked, walked away from that. And ever since then, that's stayed with me. And it has happened where people are like, well, you're pretty direct. I'm no more direct than anybody else that I work with. It's only because I'm a woman.
Wow, that's terrible and great advice at the same time. So thank you. And from your background, it's evident that you've been a process-focused leader since your start probably as house manager at Caesars. What is the foundation of that? Like, how did you, in a sense, get that professional maturity so quickly?
Oh man. Well, in theater in Vegas, I will tell you, I don't think I had it. I didn't know what I was doing. They gave me a box office supervisor. They handed me 60 employees, half of which English was the second language, and they would speak Tagalog in front of me. And I never understood what there's like, they could have been talking about me. I have no idea. But I wasn't a good leader back then. I didn't know. I wasn't armed with the right tools to be a good leader. I will say it wasn't until I got into talent development and leadership training that I started to go, oh crap, now, yep, I should have done something differently with looking back. But that's also helped me be a better leader as I moved forward as well. I think that training young leaders on leadership skills and leadership capabilities is very important. I've never been good. I've had some, I wouldn't say mentors, but I've had some bosses in the past when I was early on that told me I needed to know my place because I was young and I had a lot to learn. And they were right. I was young and I had a lot to learn. But the first part they were wrong on, which is know your place. And for me, that's your place is wherever you want it to be. So if you want your place to be a step ahead of where you're at, then you act a step ahead of where you're at. And so I would start to emulate the people that I followed. And I, again, was very blessed to have some very positive leadership role models. So I will tell you that when I worked at Caesars, I worked far under, right? Down here, top way up here, David Norton was the CMO. I started studying him. What does he do? Why does he make the decisions he makes? What information does he need to make those decisions? And then emulate that. And I think for young leaders, that's really important to find those leaders they respect and start to emulate that. And then because of that, they'll understand why they're doing it.
Well, it's really that's good advice, and it's really good to see you giving back through Built by Girls to do the exact same thing, and you're probably doing that for a great number of your teammates as well now. Your career has really been on a nice arc. VP titles, CMO titles, CMO
Knock on
of the
wood.
year.
Knock on wood.
What's that?
Knock on wood, right? Like.
Well, yeah, and how? Here's the jinxing question: if you're into those kind of superstitions, and I am sometimes. How have you maintained that career arc?
I work a lot. No, I don't
Blood,
know.
sweat, and tears.
I've 2 times in my career have I found myself without a job. And the first time I panicked. The second time I panicked. And then like you think you're going to get in that situation, you're going to be like it's fine, and like I've known people who get in that situation and they go, "Oh, I'm just going to take some time off for me." And you're like, "I'm not that person. Like I don't know what that feels like." So the career in my stool, it's like career is a big piece of it, family is a big piece of it, friends and other activities a little piece, and like other things that make me happy a little piece, right? So career has always been a really big piece of my stool, and without that leg there, it was very hard for me. And I think that it has allowed me to put myself out there and figure out what I really love doing, and that's working with people, driving businesses forward, and building cool shit is really what it comes down to, right? Like I really get to build cool shit during the day, and because of that, it translates to lots of different industries. And like I said earlier, it's about making the right connections, and you never meet a stranger. And I truly will talk to anybody, but you never know where that connection is going to lead you.
Interesting. And oftentimes we think about our current role as a springboard to our next role. I know you're very early in your tenure with Del Taco, but what's next for Erin?
I don't know. I'm never good at this question. Like people say, like, where are you going to be in 5 years? I
Sorry.
don't know. I don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. I don't know. At some point I would like to be at the helm. Like I'd like to be the CEO of a company, leading to the charge forward. Will it be food service or casino or hospitality hotel? I don't know. I don't know what it's going to be, but I do know that I love where I'm at now, which is Del Taco. I love the fact, by the way, that we followed cannabis with tacos leading up to 420 is not lost on me. It's
There
really just
seems to
like
be an adjacency there. Yes.
really solid programming by the brand innovators team. I really like that. I was super psyched to hear about that too, and hopefully not everybody like they'll get to eat lunch after this. But I do. I love what I do, and I get to take all these pieces of the marketing puzzle and pick them up and move them to different industries, and that's pretty. I don't know. I get pretty psyched to be able to do that.
Gotcha. Before we move on to more Del Taco focused questions, here's an honest question, that I'm, I guess, capable of asking, but not capable of answering for sure. Is it getting easier for women in the workplace to succeed? Are we making progress?
Um, yes, we are. I think no matter what, not just women, any minority, there is some unconscious bias that still exists. Whether we want to believe it or not, it's probably easier to be picked up by the person that it's towards, right? So I notice if someone calls me like, hey, that's my girl. And I'm like, okay, you're my boy. And they're like, no, I'm a man. Oh, cool. Then I'm a woman, right? So, like, simple things like that, like it's unconscious bias. They don't even think about it. They grew up saying girls versus men. Strange to me, right? Like, I spent some time this morning before work studying about how baby girl clothes are made very differently than baby boys clothes, and like why is that even a thing, right? So anyway, yes, do I think it's getting easier? Absolutely, compared to where we were. And when you look back and like when you watch the movies of like, you're like, we really just got the right to vote not that long ago, right? Like, and so is it getting better? Yes. Or do we have a ways to go? Yes. And that's the same probably, I think, whether you asked a woman or any other minority, they'd probably say the same thing. We are making a lot of strides forward. We have a long ways to go.
Gotcha. My mom's been railing on the girls thing since the 80s, when I think I started first becoming aware of such a phenomenon. So, Del Taco, you got a new job during the pandemic. How did you pull that off? And was it strange never to truly look your new boss and your team in the eye?
Well, I'm flying out there next week, so I'm very excited to meet them from the waist down.
For the first time?
Yeah, for the first time.
Oh,
So
great.
I was super psyched just to be able to book a flight, uh, oh, an actual work trip for the first time in,
Booking engines are back. It's good.
yes. So I will tell you that I wasn't like actively out looking for a job. I was working as the CMO of Marcus Hotels and Resorts, which is a wonderful hotel company. I hospitality, obviously, with the pandemic, like a lot of our hotels were shut down. And Tim, who is our CMO and a wonderful gentleman, reached out and said they were creating this position. We started talking about it. It made, I mean, the position is leading marketing technology and kind of describes me to a T. So, and Tim and I had met years ago when I spoke at a Mobile Innovation Summit. And I remember we connected, we just chatted. And then years later, he remembered me. He followed my career and reached out. And so we started talking. I met with John, our CEO, who, if you have an opportunity to work for someone like John as a CEO, you take it because he is the type of leader that you want to get in line and you want to follow. You want to be there with. Tim talks a lot about how he doesn't want a group of people who all go the same direction. He wants people who have their own ideas, who bring different ideas to the table. And that's really what makes a great team. That's a team you want to work on. So after meeting with them, it made my decision very easy. I joined. I did tell them that I didn't plan on moving to California anytime soon, and they were fine with that. So I live in Wisconsin and work for a California-based company.
Nice, nice. And describe your leadership style. How are you motivating your team against the objectives you outline for them, et cetera?
Yeah. So um, we always start by any of my teams that have ever worked with me. We do this Gallup Strength Finder, and we talk about what our strengths are and how they complement each other or they align with each other. In my case, my team all has very different strengths, which is great. It's
Right,
phenomenal, but it also allows for us to understand, okay, here's why I come and say something this way, but when you come to the table and you say it that way, now I understand, because based on your strengths, you think about it in one direction and I think about it in this direction. How does that complement each other? So we do that. I'm a situational leadership leader, which means everybody is led based on who they are and how they're different. I don't believe that the same leadership works for everyone. I believe in communication. I believe in lots of check-ins and the ability to have open table. And there's a book called Radical Candor, very big into radical candor. Whatever you have to say, just put it out there so that no one makes assumptions. I believe that assumptions kill the soul because people start to worry about, like, well, what do they think about me? Or why is this happening? Or what's going on here? You don't have to worry about it. You always know where you stand. So that's truly how I am so far. My team seems to be okay with it. They seem to like it. And I'll tell you that when we talk as a group and people come to me and be like, what do you do? I'm like, I really work for them, because I do. As far as I'm concerned, I work for my team. I work to sell the next taco. I'm not the boss. I'm not the leader. I'm the person that helps to guide them, and I'm helping push them from behind.
interesting. Yeah, I love that diverse background and feeding strengths. I think that was the best lesson I took out of taking that test. Is don't try to teach me how to be an accountant because I'm bad at accounting. Feed what I'm good at.
Yeah,
Really like that. What KPIs do you monitor on a daily basis or at some specific cadence?
all of them. So the good and bad of marketing technology or digital marketing is that people are smart enough to know that there's analytics that come with that now. But because of that, they expect those analytics all the time. So we
Right.
look at everything, whether it's web traffic, all the way to obviously the dollar, right? The taco sold. And we look at where the taco sold came from, right? What area that person was from, what they're doing, why they're doing it. My life right now is consumed with working towards the future of our new CRM launch. If you follow any of our earnings calls, you'll have heard our CEO, John, speak about the CRM launch and how excited we are about that. That kind of takes up our full day currently, and we're excited for that to still happen and launch in 2021.
Got you. That brings up or is a good segue to one of my questions. One of your roles is strategic partnerships and third party delivery apps and digital ordering.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you maintain that balance between your own app, which is going to give you probably better margins and add to that CRM project, versus the delivery apps, which are ubiquitous, but don't give you as much as maybe you'd like?
Well, it's a different customer. So that's really what it is, right? The person that has our app is going to go through our app. That's just who they are. They're dedicated. The people that have your app aren't all your customers, and they're never going to be all your customers. They're going to be like your top 20%, your top 10%. They're the people that are hardcore fans of your restaurant or your hotel or whatever, your retail store. And so they download your app because of use, right?
Right.
We're not blind enough to believe like we're Amazon and everybody's going to have our app on their phone. They're not. We're going to have a good segment that do, but it's not going to be all of our customers. The people that go to DoorDash, Uber Eats, Grubhub, Postmates, etc., more coming on all the time.
Right.
All of those, that's a different customer. That's someone who might not be super loyal to Del Taco all the time. They're looking for, what's that DoorDash deal, right? What can they get there? And so they go through DoorDash, and that's where I have to be there so that I can win them and entice them in. And then eventually, do I hope to win them over to wanting to use our app? Yeah, just like everybody. But if not, I know I'm going to be there for them in those third-party delivery too. So I think they're both really important.
Gotcha. And your app has grown 38% or something to, 1.2 million users in the last year. How do you expect to sustain that?
Well, luckily enough, our restaurant company continues to grow as well. And with that, we've had more fans and followers jump on board and want to download the app and get the offers. And as we build and launch a new CRM, I think you'll see things start to change in the future as well. That'll entice more folks to want to jump on board.
Speaking of expansion, you guys recently moved into Columbus, Ohio.
Yes.
What about Columbus was attractive?
I think everywhere needs a taco. So, and
I
they definitely
couldn't
need
agree
a Del
more.
Taco. I knew Del Taco when I lived in Vegas and loved them. We don't have them in Wisconsin. So people always go like, I can't believe you work in Wisconsin. You work for a company that like you don't have. And I'm like, well, that doesn't mean we won't have them. We will eventually get a Del Taco. But someone has to be the first. So Ohio needed Del Taco. They needed it. Why do we know that? Because we opened our doors and people were like, holy cow, we needed this, right? They were lined up ready to eat tacos. And not just tacos, like our burritos, our even our burgers are delicious, which people don't even think like, oh, they have cheeseburgers. That's crazy, but we do, and they lined up, and so we'll continue to do that with markets as we continue to expand.
Gotcha. I see David there. He's got the big hook.
Oh well, I gotta find the virtual hook or maybe like a gong sound. You can add some sound effects. But no, this is great. I always hate interrupting and ending these, but we gotta keep the show rolling. So Erin, amazing as always. We love having you here. Ken, thank you so much for joining us and leading the discussion. And we'll see you guys both soon. Hopefully in the real world one of these days.
Yes.
Yes,
love
that would be
tacos.
great.
Yes, and we'll all have some. I mean, now I haven't eaten lunch yet, so now I'm craving tacos. I might have to hit my DoorDash or Uber Eats and see what I can drum up while I'm hosting here. But this is great. Thank you both so much, and like I said, we'll see you soon, and hopefully soon in the real world.
Yes. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, both. Have great days.
We are.